That's awesome, though. Thank you for your service. That's very admirable. Oh, that's right. You guys give us one. I'm not used to that.
sending money back to the Treasury and reducing government spending overall. So that's how they. You're increasing by 15 overall, but decreasing by 17. So we're saving $2 million in total government funding.
What does that mean?
That that is with the VA home loan program where veterans, yes, which you're familiar with. So the funding fee is a one-time fee that certain veteran service members and Guard Reserve members pay if they use that. So it generates
Another week of income.
correct. But these are the fees. They're actually lower than current ones, but it's just extending the fee chart out another year at the current rates.
So do you understand why I'm asking? Why does this decrease in spending?
Because those veterans are having to pay money to VA.
It's an arithmetic.
Okay, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Because they see it as.
So the way we're looking at this, the way I'm looking at this, I got it. But we're increasing spending, right? We're asking our citizens to do more. How does that work?
It's a CBO scoring. It's CBO scoring. Yeah. Yes. But in the past, it said, we're giving money back to the federal government, it theoretically to offset the increased costs.
Cost to our citizens.
Yes.
I'll watch this a little more.
And these are fees that we've used for dozens of bills to offset the mandatory or discretionary costs. It's bipartisan. The VSOs are fine with it. Veterans are fine with it. It's the current rates that are in place. It's just extending it out.
Do you see what I'm saying? We're increasing government spending. We're increasing the cost to our veterans.
Yeah, the challenge is it's the way CBO scores. So there's an account that has it's called 1,700 units. Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. I respect it. We're not increasing anything. We're asking our citizens to pay more, so our citizens are actually receiving our veterans, not our citizens. Our veterans are actually paying.
Yes. All right, sir. I understand, and I'll relay that back to. Yeah, I'll relay that to.
Not making an issue out of it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're good to go? Good afternoon, everyone. I will be supporting the good afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for coming. My colleagues, thank you guys for coming in for this. I will breeze through this, and we will get on our day. Mr. Self, you ready? All right, let's do it. So good afternoon. I will be supporting the 6 bills on today's agenda, which are intended to improve the lives of our nation's veterans and their families. In accordance with committee rules, the subcommittee has contacted the Congressional Budget Office seeking formal preliminary cost estimates for each of the bills being considered this afternoon. As is our normal practice, we need to get official scores from the CBO, and I look forward to continuing to work with Ranking Member Pappas and other members of the subcommittee to ensure these bills are fully offset before they go to the floor. And with that, I now recognize Ranking Member Pappas for any opening remarks he may have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm pleased to be here to support these bills before us today, and in the interest of time, I'll be brief also. I just wanted to mention the exclusion of one bill that I had hoped to see on the agenda today, the Guard VA Benefits Act, which enjoys broad bipartisan and VSO support, and I certainly hope we're able to advance this bill at a markup in the near future. Now, I also have concerns about the decision to offset bill costs at the subcommittee level. I think we're the only subcommittee of this committee to do that. And I think that this choice breaks from a previous practice that has served this committee well and may cause problems in advancing legislation down the road. All that said, though, I do thank you, Mr. Chairman, and your staff for working with us in a bipartisan manner on the legislation before us today, and I look forward to seeing these advance to the full committee and through the House, and I yield back my time.
Thank you, sir. I now call up H.R. 234, Gerald's Law Act. The clerk shall report.
H.R. 234, to amend
Bill
Title
was
30.
circulated in advance pursuant to the committee rules without objection. The first reading is dispensed with. The bill is now open for amendment at any point. I have an amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 234 at the desk. The clerk shall report.
Amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R.
I ask
2.
unanimous consent that further readings of the amendment in the nature of a substitute be dispensed with and that it be considered base text for purpose of the markup. Hearing no objections, so ordered. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes to speak on my amendment in the nature of substitute H.R. 234. My amendment in the nature of substitute H.R. 234 adds a provision to offset the mandatory costs of the bill by extending the funding fees in VA's home loan program. This offset has been used for years by both parties on legislation with significant costs. It also changes the applicability date to 6 months after enactment to give VA time to implement the bill. There is no significant change to the underlying bill, which is intended to improve the burial allowances benefits for certain veteran survivors. I urge all members to support my amendment in the nature of the substitute. Do any members wish to comment on the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 234? No other amendment were filed. Are there any further amendments? Hearing none, the question now occurs on my amendment in the nature of substitute H.R. 234. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the amendment in the nature of a substitute is agreed to. I now recognize Ranking Member Pappas for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that H.R. 234 as amended be reported favorably to the full committee.
Thank you, sir. There is a motion to favorably forward H.R. 234 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. H.R. 34 as amended is favorably forward to the full committee. I now call up H.R. 1329. The clerk shall report.
H.R. 1329.
The bill was circulated in advance pursuant to the committee rules without objection. The first reading is dispensed with. The bill is now open for amendment at any point. The clerk shall report.
Amendment in the nature of substitute to H.R.
I ask unanimous consent to further readings of the amendment in the nature of a substitute be dispensed with and that it be considered base text for the purpose of the markup. Hearing no objections, so ordered. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes to speak on my amendment in the nature of a substitute H.R. 1329. My amendment in the nature of the substitute H.R. 1329 would use the same VA home loan program funding fee offset that we just used in H.R. 234. The offset the discretionary cost of the bill by reducing an equal amount of mandatory spending. It would not change the substance of the bill, which authorizes 2 additional judges at the Court of Appeals for veterans' claims to prevent a backlog. I urge all members to support. Do any other members wish to comment on the amendment in the nature of substitute H.R. 1329? No other amendments were filed. Are there any further amendments? Hearing none, the question now occurs on my amendment in the nature of substitute H.R. 1329. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chairs, the ayes have it, and the amendment in the nature of the substitute is agreed upon. I now recognize Ranking Member Pappas for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that H.R. 1329 as amended be reported favorably to the full committee.
Thank you, sir. There is a motion to favorably forward H.R. 1329 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. H.R. 1329 as amended is favorable forward to the full committee. Next, H.R. 1378, Veterans Appeals Backlog Improvement Act.
H.R. 1378, to amend Title 38 United States Code to establish an internship program within the Board of Veterans Appeals and for other purposes. Enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States.
The bill was circulated in advance pursuant to the Rules Committees without objection. The first reading is dispensed. The bill is now open for amendment at any point. I now recognize myself to speak briefly on that bill. H.R. 1378 would help address backlogs at the Board of Veterans Appeals by improving the board's ability to recruit and retain qualified employees. It has my full support. Does any member wish to comment on the bill? The clerk shall report. Oh, wait, sorry. Who seeks recognition for the purposes of offering an amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have an amendment at the desk.
Clerk shall report.
Amendment to H.R. 1378, page 3.
I ask
line-
unanimous consent that further readings of the amendment be dispensed with. Hearing no objection, So ordered. Congressman McGravy is now recognized for 5 minutes to speak on his amendment, H.R. 1378.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a recovering lawyer, I'm trying to do my best to improve the profession a little bit here, and part of that effort means making sure that that money is not a barrier to entry for hardworking law students who are preparing for and taking the bar exam. I'm proud to be the Democratic co-lead of H.R. 1378, and I'm proud to offer this bipartisan amendment, which will reimburse participants in the honors program for costs of the bar exam and bar exam preparation courses if they agree to stay with the VA for 3 years. This amendment is simple, but will be invaluable in helping to attract top legal talent to the boards of veteran appeals to do right by our vets. I want to thank the chairman for including H.R. 1378, and I urge my colleagues to support the bipartisan amendment. I yield back the balance of my time.
I thank the gentleman for his amendment, and he has my support. Do any other members wish to comment on the amendment, H.R. 1378? Hearing no questions, now occurs on the amendment of H.R. 1378. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the amendment is agreed to. No other amendments were filed. Are there any further amendments? Hearing none, the question now occurs on H.R. 1378 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and H.R. 1378 as amended is agreed to. I now recognize ranking member for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that H.R. 1378 as amended be reported favorably to the full committee.
Thank you, sir. There's a motion to favorably forward H.R. 1378 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. H.R. 1378 as amended is favorably forwarded to the full committee. Next bill, H.R. 1529, Veterans Cost. Sorry. I now call up H.R. 1529, the Veterans Cost of Living Act. The clerk shall report.
H.R. 1529 to
The bill was
increase.
circulated in advance pursuant to the committee rules without objection. The first reading is dispensed with. The bill is now open for amendment at any point. I recognize myself briefly to speak on the bill. Bill H.R. 1529 would ensure that certain VA benefits keep pace with inflation. The Veterans COLA would be the same increase that Social Security recipients receive. Veterans and their families need this increase to help afford the rising costs of expenses such as groceries, medicines, gas, and rent. I would like to thank Ranking Member Pappas for co-leading this bill. Does any member wish to be recognized on this bill? No amendments were filed, and are there any amendments to this bill? Hearing none, the question now occurs on passage of H.R. 1529. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. H.R. 1529 is agreed to, and I now recognize Ranking Member Pappas for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that H.R. 1529 as amended be reported favorably to the full committee.
There is a motion to favorably forward H.R. 1529. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. H.R. 1529 is favorably forward to the full committee. I now call up H.R. 1530, the Veterans Benefit Improvement Act. The clerk shall report.
H.R. 1530 to amend
Bill was
title.
circulated in advance pursuant to the committee rules, without objection. The first reading is dispensed with. The bill is now open for amendment at any point. The clerk shall report.
Amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 1530. Strike all after the enacting clause and insert the following. Section 1, short
I ask
title.
unanimous consent that further reading of the amendment in the nature of a substitute be dispensed with and that it be considered base text for the purpose of the markup. Hearing no objection, I now recognize myself to speak on the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 1530. The amendment in the nature of substitute to H.R. 1530, the Veterans Benefit Improvement Act, makes needed technical changes to clarify the intent of this bill and ensure VA can implement it. There is no major changes to the bill, which is to improve the disability claims process for veterans. I would now like to recognize Ranking Member Pappas for co-leading. I would like to thank Ranking Member Pappas for co-leading in the underlying bill. I urge my colleagues to support it. Do any other members wish to comment on the amendment in the nature of substitute H.R. 1530? Hearing no other amendments were filed, are there any further amendments? Hearing none, the question now occurs on the amendment in the nature of substitute H.R. 1530. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the amendment in the nature of a substitute is agreed to. I now recognize Ranking Member Pappas for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that H.R. 1530 as amended be reported favorably to the full committee.
There is a motion favorably forward 1530 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. H.R. 1530 as amended is favorably forwarded to the full committee. I now call up H.R. 984. The clerk shall report.
H.R. 984 to amend Title 38.
Bill was circulated in advance pursuant to the committee rules without objection. The first reading was dispensed with. The bill is now open for amendments at any point. Who seeks recognition for the purpose of offering an amendment?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment in the nature of a substitute at the desk.
Clerk shall report.
Amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 984.
I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of the amendment in the nature of a substitute be dispensed with and that it be considered base text for purpose of the markup. Hearing no objections, Ranking Member Pappas is now recognized for 5 minutes to speak on support of his amendment in the nature of a substitute, H.R. 984.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm pleased today to offer this amendment in the nature of a substitute on behalf of my good friend and colleague and fellow member of this committee, Representative Mike Levin, the original sponsor of H.R. 984, which I also strongly support. The ANS makes several important changes to the bill to help reduce cost and improve effectiveness. First, the ANS would reduce the authorization amount of the bill from $50 million per year to $20 million per year over 5 years. Second, in recognition of the need to build culturally competent representation, the ANS will mandate that no less than 5% of the grant funding provided by this new program be set aside for awards to tribal organizations. And third, the ANS will mandate that VA issue the first notice of funding availability no later than 1 year after the date of enactment of this bill, so that the funding is in the hands of our VSOs and doing good in the community as quickly as possible. That said, I encourage all my colleagues to support the amendment in the nature of a substitute and support the bill, and I yield back.
I thank the gentleman for his amendment in the nature of a substitute, and it has my full support. Do any members wish to comment on the amendment in the nature of substitute to H.R. 984? No other amendments were filed. Are there any further amendments? Hearing none, the question now occurs on Ranking Member Pappas' amendment in the nature of substitute H.R. 984. All those in favor say aye. 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 All those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the amendment in the nature of a substitute is agreed to. I now recognize Ranking Member Pappas for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that H.R. 984 as amended be reported favorably to the full committee.
Thank you, sir. There is a motion to favorably forward H.R. 984 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. H.R. 984 is amended and is favorably forwarded to the full committee. This concludes today's markups. Summarizing today's votes, the subcommittee has voted to favorably forward the full committee H.R. 234 as amended, H.R. 1329 as amended, H.R. 1378 as amended, H.R. 1529, H.R. 1530 as amended, and H.R. 984 as amended. I ask unanimous consent that the committee staff be authorized to make technical, clerical, and conforming changes to the bills favorably forwarded today. Hearing no objections, so ordered. I thank the members of their attendance and the subcommittee staff. The committee is now adjourned.